All right, Bible study time. We are back in the Old Testament book of Zechariah. We are starting chapter 2, and we're just going to do a small section of chapter 2 today because life happens, and that's where we're at. So I'm going to try to go through this briefly. Chapter 2, okay, is titled A Man with a Measuring Line. So what is a measuring line? And so if you look this up for biblical terms, it's like the builder's line. So it could be like a cord or a rope. And I like to picture like the stakes, like with the orange flagging, like today that we see that stake out like a new build or something. So basically that's what I picture in my mind. So here in Zechariah's continued vision, a man is saying to measure Jerusalem, to see its size. And then we see another angel like enter the scene who says in verse 3, run and tell that young man. And I was like, okay, young man, who is he talking to? Is he talking to Zechariah? Is there somebody else? Like what's going on? So after doing some digging here, there seems to be some different commentary on exactly who this is speaking of. But one thing I read that I think that I can agree on is that they're not speaking to an angel. The angels aren't speaking to one another and nowhere in scripture is an angel referred to as a young man. So here I came to the conclusion that they're speaking to Zechariah, and oftentimes in scripture, prophets would be referred to as a young man. And we don't know the age of Zechariah at this time, but we know this is earlier in his prophesying days. The first few chapters or when he was younger. But let me know if you have any other thoughts on that. So then he's relaying God's message here that Jerusalem will be a city without walls and be filled with a lot of people and animals again. So it's going to be highly populated again. And so what's the current state of Jerusalem here? So it's been trampled by the Gentiles. It's been a site of destruction, right? But right now God is saying it is about to be rebuilt. He will be its walls. This is verse 5. It says, and I myself will be a wall of fire around it, and I will be its glory. I thought that was absolutely beautiful. I myself will be a wall of fire around it, and I will be its glory. So God is the great protector here, the one of great power, and he should be the center of all the worship. Then in verse 6, it says, flee from the land of the north. What area is this? So this refers to the area of Israel's enemies like Babylon and Assyria. And this is calling to those that are still in exile to flee because judgment is coming to those nations. Thought that was beautiful too. We'll finish up the latter part of that verse in the rest of chapter 2 soon. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you're subscribed and following along with this. So much goodness in the Old Testament.